Hey guys, it's Matt here from Henry Shine. Just doing a quick video on Remexis, everything that's coming. So taking you through the Emerald S, obviously the 3D printer is just about to come out. So everything that Remexis is focused on is everything in-house. So this is a new Emerald S, which we'll be getting this week, so you can see how much faster the Emerald S scans. It's got a larger image that it's picking up as it's scanning, so that allows it to scan obviously a lot faster. So I imagine now this is a video, so I'm dubbing over the top of one of Wally Rene's videos on YouTube, but I imagine with the Emerald S to do full arch scanning you're going to be within around about a minute to a minute and a half of full arch scanning for something like this. The good thing also about this particular scanner, so if you saw just down the bottom there, any area on the scan that's not attached will get deleted away, and then obviously you can use the scanner to view, rotate the image around, and you can also use it to delete data or generate model. There's also a HD photo built into the scanner, so if you hold it still, it'll take a HD photo, which will then obviously go into the 2D records within the software, and it will also overlay it on top of the scan. So if you are wanting to do a prep and you wanted to use a HD image, it will overlay that image over the top of your margin, so it becomes a lot clearer to draw out your margin. So all other, I guess not all scanners have the ability to do that, but that's obviously the benefits of the Remexis and the Planmeca scanner. So there's also a retract feature, so if you see that down the bottom, so retract will actually retract the prep from the margin that you've drawn. So that's going to save it as a separate file. So if you were to export that file now, you could potentially print that die and then you could test it out to make sure you're happy with the fit of the crown around the margin. So within the byte step now, also within the newer version of Remexis, it beeps / makes a beeping noise once it's been articulated, and then from there there's also a new refined feature down the bottom in the software. So that's everything within the scanner that's coming out. So literally we'll be getting the new Planmeca Creo 3D printer coming out this next week for the digital event down in Sydney, and we'll also have the Emerald S here for that as well. And within the Emerald S also you've got the ability to do shade taking. So you can see here, that's just hovering over a scan. So if you did need to figure out what the shade is to send to a lab, you can do that. And then there's a Carey's aid, which this is still to be released later on in the year. But this is going to be available on the Emerald S, as well as you'll be able to fit that tip onto the Emerald as well. So there's going to be 4 different colors that you could, make your Emerald come in. So green, pink, gray, or blue. And that's going to be very exciting for practices that wanted to change the cover to, synchronize with their business logos. So that's overall, that's the Emerald S to give you an idea. And what I wanted to do now, after showing you that, I was just going to quickly show you within Remexis the features that you can use and the different modules. So one of the modules that's available, obviously, is the Smile design. So if you double click, you can bring in an image here. So I've brought in this image. Using these features here, so aligning and cropping, you can align the nose, the eyes up, and then you can align the smile up in general. You can draw an outline of the patient's lip line. So what this does is it tells the software where the lip line is. So if it needs to delete any part of a tooth, it will. So you can show the patient exactly where the teeth are going to be looking after their design. So if I were to come back in here now, if I were to bring that tooth up, you can see how it cuts it off, so within the lip line. Now, being a perfectionist, I've got to move that back. So that gives you an idea. You can quickly bring it in. You can adjust the shade, smile. You can, lighten it, brighten it. You can change all these settings here, and then you can also do as many teeth as you can see here. Now, in here, I hid all other teeth, so I just focused on the one tooth. But if you wanted to do a full arch, obviously you can do a full arch as well. So the good thing, after you've done your smile design and you've got your shade right, you can export that into your CAD-CAM program to help generate a crown. So let's say I'll just move this and this up over there. So if we go into CAD-CAM now, we'll choose a case 2-1. Now this is an older case that I've scanned. But once you go in and you wanted to create your case, now this is a good thing about Remexis, about everything all syncing in together. So now I'm going to call this a 2-1, but you can, if you wanted to, within now the margin step, if you wanted to draw your margin and you wanted to test out, now hypothetically it would be ideal if I had another tooth, but you can rotate this around and you can just show the patient, look, remember that crown that I designed? You know, this is it here. So you can align it up with the tooth that they've got. You can make it transparent to make sure the outline's correct. So what you're giving the patient in the end is very similar to what you've shown them in the smile design. So that's the good benefit about that particular software. So that's smile design. Obviously from here, this is the crown and bridge module. So I've drawn the margin out here. I know this isn't a prep, but we're going to be doing an implant case. So I just wanted to show you how it works. So you use your trace button and you click on here and you draw around and draw your margin. After you've drawn your margin, you can use the move. So you can do small increments, you can undo it, or you can do larger increments. If I were to go back in here, we'll increase that up. So you can adjust the margin to where you want your crown to be sitting. You can do a plan. So you can move the tooth around, make sure that you wanted to plan it to have rough positions that it's going to be sitting in. And we'll just move that up and resize it just a little bit. So this is just a rough guide for the software, and then you can go design. So within the design phase, obviously you can hit apply and it will auto generate to give you something. Now you can choose all different libraries. You can see all the different libraries here of tooth designs. And now obviously this is relative to where I've drawn the margin. So you can do quick editing by using some of these features, you know, rubber tooth. So if you wanted to rubber tooth certain parts of this tooth down, you can. You can use smooth features. So if you wanted to smooth certain areas out, or once again, you can rubber tooth certain areas out. So this is, I'm not doing a tooth design here to be finished. I've just done this just to give us an idea of implant placement as well. So, but in terms of the ability of the software as well, you can, if you wanted to, duplicate this tooth if you're to do a pre-prep scan. So you can do a contralateral. And then from here, if you did want to do that as a crown, you can just send it to the mill and mill that out as it is there. So that's a CAD-CAM program. After that's been saved, and let's say now you've shown the patient their smile design, you've done the design there, you could also, using free software, you could export the restoration that you did there. You could merge that onto your scan, and then you could 3D print that, and then you can obviously do a temporary if you wanted to 3D print a temporary, or if you wanted to mill a temporary, you know, potentially you could put some wings on there and bond it in. So now that we've done CAD-CAM, going in 3D, we've decided that we're going to place an implant on this particular case as well. So this is a case. So you've got the ability now to bring in the patient's cone beam. If you've done it on a Planmeca CBCT, then obviously you can do it here, but you can see right now our implant's placed there. So I'll just delete that implant just to give you a really quick workflow. And also our models, let's delete them as well. So we're just going to work with the cone beam initially. So cone beam's in there. Now we wanted to do our implant planning. So you can come up here, fit model. Within the fit model, you can select your scan that was done on the patient. So double click, and now you can come around. We can start to change the threshold on the cone beam scan. You can also trim up, say, part of the scan to make it a little bit clearer for you if you wanted to as well, to eliminate some data. Okay, so now that we're at this point, you can start marking out certain teeth. So right click, after you've done 3 spots, so we can also adjust the threshold for the data that it picked up for in the cone beam. Oh. Now it's merged the two together, the cone beam with the intraoral scan. You can put in more points to try and merge it closer. So if you wanted to, you can start to get a slightly better refinement of the intraoral to scan. After you've done that, it's going to try and fine match it and put it in the right position for you anyhow. Okay, after it's merged, you can use automatic match. And there we go. So you can see right now it's brought in our intraoral scan over the top of our cone beam. And for the next step here, we can start to choose our panoramic curve. So panoramic curve, you can see it will automatically do one for us. But if you wanted to move our plane here, so we can rotate our blue line, we can bring that up a little bit. Panoramic curve is automatically chosen pretty good there. I'm not going to change it. But if you wanted to draw it, you can draw a panoramic curve yourself. Now each image is, you can see if I right click here, it can adjust my plane here. And if you were to untick both of these, if you zoom in and out, obviously that's zooming through. If I were to tick this again, you can see the scroll feature then becomes zoom in or out. So there's a whole heap of features like that within the software. But long and short of it, that's ready to go now, and we can now start to choose our implant. So these 4 planes, or these 4 screenshots, are these, sorry, 5, I should count correctly, are these 5 slices through here. So if this is where we want to place our implant, here and here, then you can line this up and adjust it to put it into the right position. You can, if you wanted to, go into your settings, and you can increase those slides as well to make them larger, and you can also change all the plane settings that it's in right now. So let's just bring that a little bit closer together, and then now what we can do if we wanted to is we can, let's just go done. We can start to place our implant. So if this was a lower, we could draw a nerve as well, but for the upper, we're just going to choose our implant. So once you go into your implant library, you can choose obviously however you like. Obviously, we like you to choose by horizon. Let's just go laser lock 3, we'll make it a 12, pilot, and we'll add this to the plan. So you can also choose within this, right click, and we'll flip it. So that's giving you a rough idea of where the implant's going to be sitting here, here, and within our scan. Now this at this point in time is possible. You can come in here and you can start to edit the properties of your scan. So if you wanted to change, you know, the DICOM settings to give you a better clarity, you can adjust it here. Now once that's done, let's say if you wanted to go to properties, you can also change the color of your implant to make it a little bit more visual. So okay, so you can see now that implant's a little bit more visual for us, a better visual aid. Implant, you're pretty happy with that. You can double check, you can go to a centric view on the implant, And then this is going to give you a better idea also of a centric view, so from all different angles. And you can see here our planes. So if I were to come down here, turn on our planes, so you can see blue plane, red plane, green plane. So all those different planes here are these lines. So if you wanted to rotate around on a plane, so a red plane here, which is our red square, is looking pretty much all from a straight side-on view. So if you wanted to, you could start to adjust it here. But we can also do one better, because what we can do is we can go back into the crown that we designed. We can go select and we can choose our crown and go OK. So all of a sudden use existing match. Our crown that we designed has now come into the scan as well. So we can now go from that to make a more prosthetically driven implant placement. So you can look at your where your implant's going to be coming out according to your DICOM. If for any reason you wanted to eliminate and give yourself better clarity, some of the DICOM, you can use a rubber tool here and you can start to trim some of this opposing DICOM away so that you can get a better visual aspect of where you've placed your implant according to this. So there we go. So that gives us a good idea now of where our implant's going to be coming out according to our restoration. So if you're happy with that, we can now start to do our surgical guide. I'll just eliminate, let's hide the crown, and let's go and do our surgical guide. So to do the surgical guide now, you just want to view down so you can see your path of insertion. Make sure you're happy with it. Let's just set it at that, set manually. Draw guide, and let's just do a little guide from there to there. So that's our guide done. Preview guide. You can also tick here to remove sharp and thin edges. In terms of the guide settings, so you can see according to different printers, it will have different presets and you can adjust them as well. So you can make the guide tighter or loose depending on your settings here. This also is for your sleeve. So you can adjust the settings for your sleeve. So once you've done one sleeve or two sleeves or two guided implants and you've got an idea of where you want everything to be, you can adjust it and lock it in and choose certain settings for everything there. Okay, so guide's now created. If we wanted to, we can use remove material. So you can draw around to remove some material on your guide if you didn't want any of that excess material there or there. You can also just do a quick drawing across the front to eliminate all that material through there. So your guide now is pretty much all good to go. You can print that out. If you wanted to get some irrigation, you can delete a little bit out of the middle part of the guide there to get yourself a little bit of irrigation. And then if you wanted to add any strength, you can add a bar. So adding a bar, you can adjust the diameter here. So that's going to give us a little bit of better strength across implant. So with there's also a regret button here, so you can do undo, and then let's say if you wanted to add the bar further back, there we go. So that's now good to go. You could place in your sleeve. For you can create guide at this point. You can also add text into the guide, and once it's been created, it would save as a PDF over here, and then you could print the guide, which that guide on the Creo 3D printer would take you no more than 20 minutes to print. And then obviously that is going to make your guided surgery quite easy to do, and everything's all in the one place, as you can see. Now let's say if you wanted to as well, so we've gone through smile design, 3D, so implant placement, you can see how easy it is within Remexis. CADCAM Models, so this is another feature that Planmeca have now done. So you can come into here, you can start scanning from within this model tab. You could import previous scans, so on this particular one I haven't got an imported scan, but if we go into patients, I'll just click on myself. So this is a scan I did on myself within Planmeca. So this is my beautiful mouth. I apologize. So within the model feature, so if I were to hide that, and let's just bring this in. So you can have your intraoral scan. It's going to come into here. You can then trim it up. You can use a rubber feature to trim up certain parts of your scan if you wanted to. Within this setting here, you can set your alignment to your occlusal plane, and you can do a manual alignment as well. So you can adjust where you want the mouth to be sitting in terms of rotating around your planes. Once you're happy with that, obviously it's going to give you this. Now what I've done on here using this model software is I've gone and segmented my teeth on my upper. I've gotten all the measurements for all my teeth as well. So it's going to give you all the settings here, and you can play around, and it tells you on every tooth measurements. So for any ortho work, obviously everything's all recorded there for yourself. And Bolton, so it gives you a bit of detail in here. So if for any reason, let's say you had a patient in and you wanted to scan them and do a retainer for it, you could literally scan them, bring them into here, and then within one click, you could come down. You can choose if you want a solid model, a 2, a 3, or 4 millimeter thick model. So let's say a hollow by 3 mil, and it's now going to generate a base so that we can print that off. So that's about the fastest model builder software that there's available. And if you wanted to export it, you can just export it. Now, we can, within here, once that's been exported, you can choose in the software where you want to export it. I just haven't set it up because obviously the Creo is just about to be released. So you'll be able to export this to a file, bring it into your Creo 3D printer, and then, you know, something like this is going to take about 15 minutes to print, about 5 minutes to wash, 5 to 10 minutes to cure, and then you could do a suck down on it. So you could do something like that. If we choose an output file as well in the settings, then obviously you can bring that into certain free softwares as well. If you wanted to integrate in free softwares, so you could go Mesh Mixer. You could export that scan into Mesh Mixer, and then you could, let's say, I'm pretty sure I've got something saved in here, Trios cases, print demo. So scan model, let's go maxillary, we'll just bring it in. So this is one that's been obviously based within another software, but you could bring it into here in a Mesh Mixer, and let's say if you wanted to make a mouth guard, you know, you could add certain features on here. So you could go sculpt, you could use a brush and inflate, and let's say if you wanted to inflate this tooth out because you knew that the child that you were making the mouth guard for was going to have a tooth that was going to be growing or moving or, you know, erupting out or something like that. So you could do that then as well and allow for a little bit of room. Also, by using this particular feature, you could decrease the size. And let's say you wanted to do a bleaching tray, you could bring the scan in and you could add your bleaching tray, you know, like what you would right now on your light curing. You could quickly add some material on to your scan like that, so that when you do your suck down on the bleaching tray, there's a space in there for the bleaching material. So that's just including a free software as well that can tie in nicely to Remexis. So now that that's done, that's pretty much everything that you could do. If you did want to do something really cool as well, you could go into CADCAM. You could export this particular case. So let's go back into patients. Good old Hamilton Island. CADCAM. So this particular case here that we jumped into before, you could export those models. Let's just save them to print demo, and we'll change this to STL, export. No. So this is another feature that, once again, if you did have a 3D printer and you wanted to use this free software as well, you could open up, not Remexis, sorry, we want Mesh Mixer. So within Mesh Mixer now, let's say that you wanted to bring in those scans, print demo, Hamilton Island. So you could bring in your prep. So the prep now is going to be brought in to Mesh Mixer. So that's our prep, and let's say a restoration, you can bring that in and you want to append it. Now that it's joined the two, we can actually click on both. So hit Control, click on two, and you can combine the two models. So once they've been combined, you can see now they're joined. So in some pretty cool other stuff as well, you could, let's say, we can go into select our scan, and we can go to extrude. You could print a model that way as well. And then let's just go clear selection. Select, so you can select the scan, select the crown, extrude, and then from here you can see that you can start to build a model. Change the axis that everything's on. We can make it flat. Accept. So you can see now that we can start to generate some sort of a model using Mesh Mixer. If you wanted to print something out now, also, once again, if you wanted to show the patient something to give them an idea for a study model, by using Remexis and everything that you can do, you can select the model. So if you double click on the model right now, it's going to select it, it's going to turn orange, extrude. Once you hit extrude, you can change the offset of the model. So by changing the offset, you're pulling everything down. We're going to change the direction to y-axis, flat, and accept. So once that's done, now you can see we're turning it into a model. So you could turn this into a model. You could then, after this is done, we can now combine everything. We can make it hollow. So if we go into edit, make solid, we can then make it solid so that then it becomes a 3D printable device. Once that's solid, you can see we've got a totally solid model now. We can start to hollow it out because we want to save some money as well. So we've got to make it solid first before we can print it out. And then by making it hollow, we're going to reduce our fees associated with printing, because obviously we're only printing out half the amount of material, as maybe even less than what you would a solid model. We can hit accept, and now we've got ourselves a hollowed out model. And the final thing that I'm going to do, let's say if you wanted to print this out to show a patient what it was going to look like, we can use the plane cut. And to save ourselves on a little bit more resin once again, you can bring the plane down, rotate the model around, adjust the axis, accept. And now we've got a model that we can print off. You can, if you wanted to, obviously you can also go back and select, and if you wanted to trim off, if you wanted to go in, select, you can also trim off certain areas, and you can then go discard. So that's now good to print, and literally you'll save some money on resin. And also, if you wanted to show the patient what they're going to look like in person, you could potentially print something out like that for them to give them a guide. So that, my friends, is everything that you can do within Planmeca. Obviously, the new Creo C5 3D printer is just about to come out as well. So if you wanted to have a look at this, Creo, we're just about to get this in for the digital conferences happening. So it's incredibly fast. You should be able to, you can see here, print models in 10 to 15 minutes. Never mind the selling. So you can see it's all pretty simple touch screen. So you'll be able to print surgical guides, and you'll also be able to print models within this using the resins that they've got. So they've designed this for use within practices just to make it efficient more than anything. So as I mentioned, you can do surgical guides and models within this Creo C5. So thanks guys. I hope you got something out of this Planmeca video. There's obviously a lot of cool things that Planmeca are introducing, and I think that for a lot of practices also with the implementation of Remexis, how it can link into software of excellence or Exact. It's a brilliant tool within your practice that you can digitalize every workflow. Thanks guys, and enjoy.